Welcome back to the Undefeated Defining Moments podcast, located here in Project 3810, the house that Kyle Golding built. Today's very special guest is the undefeated All-American mother of 3, entrepreneur, and she's running for Senate District 22 in the great state of Oklahoma. Kristen Thompson, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Wong, for having me.
Absolutely.
I am so happy to be here.
I'm honored to be hosting this show. You like the suit?
I do. You look pretty dapper today.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for getting all dressed up for me.
Yeah, Sooner in Suits, the man. Talk about it, and he's your husband, Bryce Thompson.
He is my husband. Yes, he is.
Little swag bag for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Open this here and just can I show everybody? It's my
sure, do it.
My it better be my undefeated shirt. If not, I'm leaving. Yes, sir. There we go. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
There it is. That's the one.
Yeah.
Wear this on the campaign trail.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Thank you. I sure appreciate that.
Absolutely. My wife normally comes to these, and she really wanted to meet you, but she had to go to Tulsa.
Sure.
So she left me with a honey-do list of questions
Okay.
that she really wants answered.
Right. Okay.
So they're unfiltered, and if you don't feel like answering them, that's okay too.
Okay. I think we'll be good.
Okay. So how are you this morning?
We're good.
Yeah?
Got everybody up and off to school. It's that end of the year rush, and it's interesting because I feel like May, just in general, is crazy busy with the kids with school and all their activities, and everybody's wrapping their stuff up and all the stuff going on at school, and then the month of May is birthday central at our house. So our second son, his birthday is on Cinco de Mayo, which if you have a baby on Cinco de Mayo, that's probably a warning label. They're gonna be a little crazy. And then our youngest, his birthday is this week.
Yeah.
And then my birthday's at the end of the month. So we've got so we've got a lot going on in May. But things are good and happy to be here, and everybody's healthy and happy, and we're fortunate. We're thankful. So
that's awesome.
It's all good. A lot going on, but all good.
Heck yeah, you said something about the 10th birthday or something like that. It's a surprise visit.
Yes. So we have a tradition in our family, started a couple of years ago. We are entrepreneurs, and there's some challenges being the children of serial entrepreneurs. And a lot of the time, you don't get that quality one-on-one time, especially with siblings. I'm an only child, so this is a whole new thing to me. But we decided a couple of years ago with our oldest that it would be just a really good idea to invest in some time, just one-on-one with each kid when they turn 10.
That's
and
awesome.
So, we were able to sneak away for a few days and spend some time just loving on Graham. He's our middle one.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was really, really good just to have that time with him. So we were thankful to get to do that.
For sure, especially with the month of May with all these celebrations going, and then also you're on the campaign trail.
Yes.
We'll take a little dive into that, probably a deep dive into that.
Sure.
My question for you first off is, how do you start your mornings with some of your habits? Your high energy.
Yes. So I get up every day at 5 o'clock, and I go to the gym or I work out at the house. If I don't get it in early, it won't get done. Our youngest, he's fixing to be 4, and he is huge. And so I used to, work out to, be fit or whatever, but I'm getting older, and so now it's so my back doesn't go out. So I start out, with my workout, and then I, try to have my quiet time, just spend some time with the Lord and refocus. Really prepare for my day, and then the rush starts. So get the kids up, get everybody fed, and make sure they have all of their things for school, and then out the door. Bryce takes them to school every day because he drops them off on their way to work, and the big kids, and then I take Brooks to school, and then we are off to the races every day, especially now that it's campaign season, looks a little different. Some days I'm doing a podcast. A lot of days I'm out, knocking doors and meeting, voters in District 22, which that has been really fun. Logistically, it is a little challenging, just making sure everybody gets where they need to be so I can go, spend that time there. But it's been really good. So, and wrap the day up, do the mom thing again, dinner, laundry, squeeze it all in. So bedtime and, rinse, repeat, do it again the next day.
That's awesome. So high energy person like yourself,
Sure.
How do you deal with negativity?
So every year, Bryce and I, right around New Year's, we'll send our kids to his parents, and we just spend some time together kind of refocusing for the year. And we always get a word for the year. And so this year, specifically, my word is focus. And so I'm learning as I get older, and the more things that we add to our plate, that I have to focus on the task at hand. And so especially stepping into a public position, there's opinions and feedback coming from everywhere, right? And so that's one reason why it's so important to me that I start my day off just spending time with the Lord and in prayer, so I can stay focused on what He's called me to do, and really, I don't want to say ignore negativity, because I do think a lot of times, feedback can be constructive. But I really know that when I am following the path that I'm supposed to be on, I've got pretty thick skin. It kind of just rolls off my back, to be honest with you.
That's great.
So
I like the word focus.
Yes.
And it's kind of like just letting water run off your back.
Yeah.
And moving on to the next situation, whatever that might be. Exactly. I like that. 2020, with the whole pandemic.
Sure.
A lot of negativity was running rampant, I felt like. How did you handle 2020, and what was the outcome for you personally?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, 2020 was probably one of the hardest years of my life. There was a lot of change, a lot of things that were outside of my control. And so really, I was probably in one of the lowest places I had ever been in my life. It was challenging. My kids, they were in a blended model for school, home 3 days a week, in school 2 days a week. We had a 2-year-old, and so trying to manage just all of that. I'm a terrible homeschool teacher. So shout out to the teachers.
Right.
You are irreplaceable. We love you. Please don't make me do that ever again. I'm not good. My kids would say that. I'm okay with that. But, really through, I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's a conversation we have a lot in our home, is that so often, I think in society now, everyone has to be comfortable. And anytime things are not perfectly, in alignment, we have a tendency to kind of, panic even. And so I did that a lot in 2020, but really just working through, honestly, a lot of prayer, a lot of discipleship, a lot of, counseling even, working with my friends and through Bible studies. It was kind of a season that I just had to pass through. And because of that, I have so much more clarity. I'm able to not sweat the small stuff anymore. It was a really hard season, but it was really good for me. So did I handle 2020 well? I don't know. But I did make it. And I grew a lot from it. And growth is uncomfortable, but that's okay.
What made it uncomfortable?
I felt like every day I had to function in my weaknesses. So I am not, like with my children, I am not a good teacher. There were so many things. I mean, at the time we had a 2-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 9-year-old. We were fighting iPads from the schools that sometimes worked and sometimes they didn't. And, sometimes the platform worked and sometimes the platform didn't. And then you've got a, 2-year-old grabbing the pens and coloring on the walls. And it was just chaos. It was just chaos. And so I just had to learn to be okay with things not being okay. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Earlier you were talking about Excel spreadsheets, how you and Bryce were, he's all about OU football, seniors and suits, etc. He'd run all these models in Excel. I would imagine you probably do the exact same thing or a similar fashion because you're running for state senate in District 22. So how do you do all that?
Yeah. So the funny thing is that I am actually not into Excel at all.
Oh, okay.
That is not my thing. One thing I did learn actually through 2020 is I view myself as a connector now.
Okay.
I know what I'm good at, and I'm okay being not good at what I'm not good at, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a really good team. Obviously Bryce is the point person on my team. So he really handles, all of the the money and all of that in Excel. And I get to do the people. I have a consultant whom I just adore. She has actually become one of my very best friends. She has truly become family. And so my team really is the only reason I can do this. Our family, my in-laws, my parents, my friends, our team is really, really strong. And so I get to do what I do best, which is ideas and people.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. You talked about, or you used the word connector.
Yes.
Are there other pieces of, besides being a connector? It sounds like a book or leadership book.
Sure. So what I like to do is I am completely honest with you. I am not ever going to be the smartest person in the room. Yeah. I don't think that it's possible to know everything. So what I want to do is connect people with the expert. Even myself, where can I go to get the knowledge to solve our problem? How can I empower other people to really take ownership of their situation, right? Yeah. And take accountability for what's going on in their lives. And even though it's not perfect or it might be uncomfortable, right? What do we do to fix it? How do we move forward here? Who can help us? What organizations are there for support? So that's really how I view myself, is just I want to be an advocate. Whatever you need, I just want to be a helper. That's really my goal in all awesome. Areas of my life.
That's great. It's like low ego. You want to help people out.
Yeah,
people to be better.
I'm really just kind of wired that way. I've always been like that. Yeah. So that's just where my heart is. That's how the Lord made me, I guess.
That's fantastic. Because leaders, quite a few of them talk about they know quite a bit, or they talk like they know everything, but they forget to really give the props to the quote-unquote connectors of the world that really helped them get to where they are today.
Yeah, so I think, being business owners, that has really just, oh my gosh, there's so much knowledge from that experience, and leading people is hard. And we have always wanted to lead in a way that people want to follow. Yeah. We don't view ourselves as above anyone else. We're on a team, and the ability to be a good team player is, especially in commercial construction, because that's how we feed our kids. It's team. It's all about the team, and sometimes you got to give a little bit. Yeah. You might not be perfectly happy, but for the success of the project and for the good of the team, to do right by your owner, you got to kind of lay it down, to move forward. You got to think big picture, right? Yeah. And it's hard. It's challenging. But that's what we believe is right. That's how we function,
That is excellent. You have my vote. All right. So
well, great.
Let's get into these questions.
Yeah,
my wife really wants me to hit them. So,
sure.
What is your business philosophy and why?
Yeah. So for our construction company, actually, our motto is people over projects. So when we were starting our construction company a couple of years ago, we were just talking about how we wanted to be, countercultural. Obviously we're for profit, right? Everybody needs to make money. You've got to feed your kids. That's how the world works. But at the end of the day, we decided that people were more important than the dollar. And so we are always going to put people first, right? That doesn't necessarily, always mean saying yes, right? You have to sometimes say no, because this is better for you, in working as a team, but people first, that's our heart. That's our heart in everything we do. Our restaurants, community through beer group, right? We are just people focused. So the whole team mentality, it is critical in all of the industries we're involved in, and really just being successful, as a family even, being a good friend, right? Yeah. Being a good church member, part of the team. So. Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes time is a constraint where you want to be here, but you have to be here instead?
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
That is challenging. Sometimes, if I'll, being honest, sometimes it's like, well, suck it up, Buttercup, we got to go. It's not always ideal. But again, it goes back to that idea of learning to be, comfortable in being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Life is not always perfect, and there are sacrifices that have to be made. And, maybe it's for a season,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always going to be like this. But you just have to learn to roll with it. I used to really fight really, really hard to keep, structure and order. And the older I get, the more I'm learning that is really just not long-term sustainable.
Right. Yeah. You remind me of the term I use is you're a realist.
Yes.
You're straightforward with it, because ideally we want to be at all of our kids' events, but realistically, there's got to be some times when we can't be. And to your point, you got to suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, it's hard, and that goes back to where, just so thankful for our friends and family.
Yeah.
We shipped our middle one off a couple of weeks ago to a basketball tournament. It was his first out-of-state basketball tournament. Bryce was out of town. I needed to be, out knocking doors, and so we had to send him with a friend. And it was so good to know that we have that team, that's really there for us. They love him. They had a blast. They ended up winning, so go Dragons, shout out. But yeah, so, you find your team, your village, so to speak. That's kind of the tagline there. But we're just so thankful for them.
Yeah.
So thankful for the help.
Yeah. You talk about the village and the team. How does Kristen create a culture of a team?
Sure. My focus is always, to love like Jesus, right? We're going to start there. And that doesn't mean, laying down and being weak. But I think it means standing firm and being consistent, loving people even, through the yucky, and just being, loyal. And people, they want to be somewhere that's safe. And people are also drawn, just to authenticity. And so being transparent and offering up, when I struggle, or, celebrating the successes, just being real. And I just want to offer a place for people, right? We're not always going to agree. I mean, I'm married to someone I don't always agree with. Yeah. He's wrong a lot, but I think being able to have a safe place for people, that's really one of my goals.
Yeah. I asked Bryce the exact same question, and you both use the word authenticity, which is brilliant, because that's what you both are.
Oh, thank you.
I've met him personally. I'm now meeting you personally, and you both carry that word.
Thank you.
Really well.
Thank you.
So hats off to you both.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So how did you get started in the hospitality industry, commercial construction?
Yeah, so with our restaurants, that's actually a funny story. Bryce came home one day with our partner that we go to church with, and he was like, Steven and I are going to start this deal in downtown Edmond. And I was like, all right, go team. I didn't really think anything of it. Our kids were like 13 months and not even, I don't know, maybe 2. I don't even know. They were super little. I was like in the throes of like toddlerhood, right? 3 months later, he's like, okay, so we bought the property's secured. And I was like, oh my gosh. So really, we got into it because, well, first of all, we didn't know any better. But second of all, we wanted to build a place for ourselves. There wasn't a gathering place for people in Edmond. And so really it was born out of, well, what do we want to do? We love Oklahoma City, don't get me wrong, but we have little kids, so we're paying for babysitters to drive down into town, and then come back. And so we felt, Edmond was ready, very community-based town. And so we kind of just dove right in. Like the Lord was like, go, and we did. And now we've got, location number 5 under construction. It's crazy. Really just how it's taken off.
Yeah.
So construction, that's what Bryce got his degree in. My degree actually is communication sciences and disorders. Not even anywhere, I know.
Okay.
Not even anywhere close to construction. Looking back, I probably would have done things a little different just because, we were going to have a construction company.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have a natural knack for design, not necessarily like, doing your shelves. I will do your shelves if you need me to, but I'm more of like hey, this wall can go and that door can move there, and the structural aspect of it. My brain just kind of works like that. So Bryce and I make a really good team in that arena. But now it looks like we're entering into a new industry, and into the policy making things. So it all works out. Everything leads you to where you are today.
Yeah.
So I guess I shouldn't say I would do anything differently because we're on a good path.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
it's great stuff. I enjoy it. I was going through your profile on the internet, and a phrase stuck out to me. It says equitable infrastructure.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes. So to me, equitable infrastructure means, and actually it just passed this week, broadband to our rural communities. So I grew up in Fort Gibson. That's probably a helpful piece of information there. So I have a unique perspective in that I have, 18 years of growing up in a rural community and now, 20 plus years being urban suburban. And so I know the needs of rural communities, but I'm also living in a suburban community. And so we have to offer, connectability to our rural communities, not only for education, right? So our kids can access, there's a wealth of knowledge on the internet. Just making sure that they have those opportunities, just like people do, in urban areas where we have the, fiber optics. And so I think it's really important to make sure that we are all connected. Yeah. I think it's good for workforce development. It's good for, moving our state forward. That's kind of what I mean by that.
That's great. You have both rural, urban, suburban, so you have all the experiences.
I do.
And you're bringing it together.
Yes.
And you're about to win.
That is the plan.
I love it.
That is the plan.
That's great.
I'm undefeated.
Should we just end the podcast there, Kyle? What's going on?
Right?
Facts. So why are you running?
I just want to make things better. I think Oklahoma, for the most part, is on a positive trajectory. Do I think we have weak spots that we need to work on? Yes, I do. Do I have certain concerns specific to me? Yes, I do. But I also know, representing 80,000 people, there's a weight to that. And so the simple answer is I just want to help. I got into this because, through COVID, learning, how things work, how things don't work, having a different perspective from being a business owner. When you're, self-employed, it's innovate or die, and I think that sometimes, people, and this is just human nature, you get comfortable and you get kind of stuck. Yeah. That's not to be disparaging. It's just that is what happens, you know. And so being able to take a fresh perspective, to our capital and just ask the questions why. People that know me, they're like, oh my gosh, this girl, she'll email everybody. And I do, because I just want to understand. If I don't understand, it doesn't make sense. And so I need to kind of process through that. My heart is for people. My heart is for this community. Obviously my kids, they're young. We have a long journey ahead of us, with education and things like that. And my heart really is just to make things better, I also want to be a voice of kind of calm. I come from a long line of redheads, so I can get fiery. Don't mistake that. But I think, being out on the doors and meeting my neighbors, I think, people are just worn out with all of the divisive rhetoric. And so I think there's a way, being a business owner, you have to learn how to, interact with people in a respectful way, especially when you disagree. Because if you don't, you probably won't have repeat business, right? If you're difficult to work with, that's going to be challenging for your business. And so that is one thing that the more that I meet people, the more doors I knock, reassuring them like, hey, listen, like your neighbors feel the same way, and I am here to operate differently, right? So I really, I want to be a helper, and I want to just kind of calm the angst that people are feeling, towards each other. So,
what kind of angst when you go and knock on doors? I think they're just worn out, and they feel like their voices are not heard. A lot of times, people don't understand actually how easily accessible our elected officials are. They forget that like they're there to help, but just the loud, flamboyant, just aggressive tone that has kind of become, politics. I've had a lot of people they're like, I don't even want to participate anymore. I'm like, oh, you cannot do that. You cannot, decisions are made by those who show up. True.
So you have to stay engaged. You have ask for help, reach out to your elected officials, like actually get some information. So you don't just hear, the headlines screaming.
Right.
So
that's true.
Yeah. That's
very true.
Yeah.
Well, on that, what are maybe a couple questions that you wish people would ask you, but no one ever asked?
Oh gosh. I've been doing this for a while, so I really have kind of, run the gamut. I think, people don't necessarily ask a lot of, what kind of leader that I want to be. But that's also a very abstract question too.
Sure.
People, when you're on their door, they're talking about their specific needs and concerns. So, what kind of leader do I want to be? How am I going to lead?
You want to answer those?
Sure. Sure. Like I said earlier, I want to be accessible, and I want to be kind.
Yeah.
Right? We are not always going to agree. That is just how the world works. But I will make a place for people. As long as we are respectful. We have lost the art of disagreeing without being disagreeable. So how can we converse, and get somewhere without being against each other as people?
Sure. Sure.
Our ideas might be in conflict, but we don't have to be in conflict.
Yeah.
So that's really, that's my approach kind of with everything.
Yeah. That's great.
So.
You brought up some really good points and I'll take this to my friend. He's on these dating apps.
Oh.
And so what he says is the other person says if you are liberal or if you are conservative, swipe, don't contact me.
Sure.
Which is interesting. I don't recall politics ever being this divisive.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed that as well.
Yeah, I do. I think, I think social media has a lot to do with that. We not only are we more connected, but there's also a platform, for the most part, where you can really say anything without any repercussions.
Right.
I think that's dangerous.
Absolutely.
To just be able to spout off, whatever hate or false truth. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
So yes, I do see that, unfortunately. I hope I can counteract that.
Yeah.
I might not always do it well, but I am aware of it. And it's concerning. It is.
Yeah. Well, for sure, because you have kids.
Yeah.
And that could become a situation where as the older they get, the more information they consume. Which could be a positive thing.
Sure.
But
There's a
also,
balance.
Right.
Like with anything in life.
Yeah.
There's a balance. I love chocolate chip cookies. Can't eat them all day, every day. There's a balance. There's
That's
balance.
right. That's because those 5 a.m. workouts get a little more intense if you have a little bit more.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, they might not happen if I'm eating that many cookies. Just roll back over and go to sleep.
So are chocolate chip cookies your favorite cookies?
I mean, listen, I'm an equal opportunity cookie eater. So big fan of chocolate chip. Big fan of lemon. I mean, I even enjoy the hated oatmeal raisin. I think.
Love oatmeal raisin.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't get enough love.
I do.
They're so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really not picky. You name it, I'll eat it.
That's great. Oh man, what type of legislator do you want to be?
I really want to be intentional. I want to be intentional in the policies I pursue. I am aware that I can go up there with 1,000 ideas, but I am also not a legal scholar. And so you set one thing into place, what's the domino effect, right? And I think this is one of the benefits of having a business. So we have to think long term. So if we start at point A, how is that going to affect point Z? Right?
Yes.
So I want to be very intentional. I'm not going to go up there and, run a whole bunch of frivolous stuff. I think that's a waste of my time. That's a waste of my colleagues' time. That's a waste for my taxpayer, the taxpayer dollars, and for my constituents. I want to be purposeful and effective in what I do. Not just with legislation, right? With anything in life, because, time, when you are a serial entrepreneur, time is a commodity. Okay. Right. I hate to waste time. My kids, my family, they will tell you this. It is one of, oh my gosh, just be efficient and handle your business. So that's going to be my approach there.
That's great. So what I'm hearing is you understand the net effect of the choices that you make.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. What are your priorities now and once elected?
Oh gosh. Well, my priority right now is to win.
Yeah.
Once I'm elected, I obviously do have some specific things, that I want to look into. My children, our oldest are in 4th and 5th grade. Through COVID, going back to that technology thing, it's a great tool, but it can also be, a hindrance. And so I really want to explore, how our schools are using their devices, what is good and appropriate for children, what's good and appropriate for our teachers, and really kind of see, what do we need to put in place there for safeguards, and then also, to help them use those devices to really help our kids flourish. I'm a believer that, all hands on deck. So let's use all the tools in our toolbox, but we have to do it responsibly.
Yeah.
I see it in my kids that, the more they're on devices, iPads, TVs, whatever, their behavior changes. And I cannot imagine those teachers, I see you, I love you, thank you. But having to manage, 20, 23, 26, whatever the number is in their class, having to manage all the different personalities, all the different learning abilities, and these devices.
Yeah.
Like, it is a challenge for me as a mom.
Yeah.
So that is definitely on my radar for sure.
That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't have any kids now. However, I do see that, to your point, the technology changes and more kids are consumed by it. And a lot of parents are like, hey, just go look at your iPad and don't worry about me right now. And I feel like they become disconnected. And then also, I personally would like to see more of the really great positive teachers be on the forefront of the local news media, say, hey, we're actually doing this, because I see a lot of the negative side, and and this is my own personal opinion. I'll turn on the local news, and all of a sudden you have these teachers, this and that, they can say whatever they want. I'm like, hold on a second. what about the teachers that aren't like that, but you're not portraying that? So
yeah,
that's great.
So we have had some really, really, just to encourage you, some really awesome experiences this year.
That's great.
My daughter, she's in 5th grade, and they had a real tea party for the Boston Tea Party, and they were learning about that. And so, I think it's a balance, and it goes back to the headlines, right?
Yeah.
The headlines are not reality.
Right.
That's probably, there's little nuggets of truth, but you have to get out and expand your circle and talk to your neighbors and really see what's going on. Otherwise it can become, let's be honest, it can become really depressing.
Yeah.
And just for the record, I have been one of those moms that's like, take the iPad, get out of my face.
Yeah.
That's real life.
Yeah.
But it is a challenge. It is a struggle, to manage that. So.
Yeah. Well, and I'll use this in context is I'll go to a restaurant and wife and husband, 2 kids, they're at the same table enjoying a meal, but then these kids will be on their devices and they'll lose interaction with their moms and dads. And that's what I'm
I've been there too. I've been there too. It is one of those things where technology is beautiful, but we have to learn how to manage it effectively, right? Yeah. I'll tell you a story. We took Bryce to Gabriella's for his birthday. That's one of his favorite places. And Brooks, he's our 3-year-old, and man, we tried. We were like, it is Dad's birthday. We are going to have the best. Look at these meatballs. Aren't you so excited? He was a terror. Yeah. He was just having none of it. He was exhausted. And so finally we were like, here.
Right. Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. There is a balance for sure.
I agree. 100%.
For sure. With everything in life.
Yep.
Cookies, iPads. Find the balance.
I love that. So Gabriella's off of 63rd.
Yeah, but they've moved now.
I've never been there.
It's delicious.
Maybe Bryce will take me.
Oh, he will. You send him a text right now, and he will meet you there for lunch. I guarantee you.
Bryce Thompson, I'll wear a suit if you take me.
You can wear your pajamas and he'll take you. He wouldn't care. He wouldn't care at all.
Oh, what's something you want people to know about you?
Oh my gosh. So, I am a very direct person. You will not really ever have to wonder where I stand on something. But even though sometimes I can be a little abrasive, let's be honest. When people are very direct, sometimes it can come across that way. My intentions are always good. If I am engaging, it's because I care. I don't engage when I don't care, right?
Yeah, can't fake it.
So to know that I just want everyone to be the best that they can be. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but, I tell my kids all the time, I don't care if you're going to be a sweater knitter. You're going to be the best sweater knitter. Just be your best. How can I help you? My heart really is just for people, healthy relationships, healthy marriages, between, families, breaking cycles of dysfunction. That's really my heart. That's really
great.
My heart.
You said a phrase that I feel like strong leaders say, authentic people say, entrepreneurs say, the undefeated mindset ask is, how can I help you? And genuinely mean that. And you genuinely mean that.
Thank you. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I didn't have this perfect, shiny, childhood. I've shared a little bit of that on Facebook. But knowing that everybody kind of has their dents and their dings, bumps and bruises, we've all got them. We've all got them. And finding, a path forward. No matter what your story is, today is a new day.
Yeah.
How do we move forward? How do we work through the yuck, from the past and just let it go, just for healthy hearts and healthy minds, That's really my passion.
That's great. You talked about sharing a story on Facebook. I'm listening. So what's the story? Would you like to share it on?
Sure, yeah. So my father struggled with substance abuse, specifically alcohol. And so he passed away right before I turned 8. So I'm an only child. And so living through that, seeing things, looking back, when you're a child that lives in dysfunction, it's normal to you, right? You don't know that's not normal. And so, he had his own demons that, I came to find out about as an adult. But really, his passing and moving forward, with my mom as a single mom, she worked for the U.S. Attorney, and she made it happen. Challenging. She actually, a couple years after my father had passed away, she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And so debilitating. It was hard. It was really hard. I remember watching her, laying in bed just because she was in so much pain. This was before, there were all the therapeutics out for that,
sure.
The biologics and things like that. But, I was fortunate enough to meet Bryce when I was 16.
Wow.
His father was a pastor, and so they moved to Fort Gibson to take over the church. And so his parents have been together for, I don't know, a million years. Their marriage is just an incredible, example of what, it should look like. And so fortunately, I had that model from a very young age, and I'm thankful for that because, statistics show that if you live in a home with dysfunction, odds are you will repeat that cycle if it's not broken. And so I very likely could have had a very different story, could have married someone and been okay with substance abuse, maybe been okay with physical abuse. But, the Lord changed my story.
Yeah.
And so that affects the way I see the world. That's another reason why, circling back to your negativity question, I don't take things personal because I recognize that I don't know everyone else's story, and so even though, now we are so fortunate. We have successful businesses. Our children are healthy. We live in a flourishing community, but it wasn't always, and it's not now, picture perfect. And so really knowing, how trauma shapes children, even adults, that really affects how I approach people and situations.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really deep, actually.
A little heavy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Are you caffeinated? Let's dive into it.
Oh.
So, yeah. But hey, it's real life. That's
right.
my story.
The last question my wife wants me to
Sure.
ask you is, what advice would you give other moms and or women who want to serve their community through public service?
Yeah. So, do it. I think a lot of times what I hear, and this is, I am just wired differently, and I know that. But when I am talking to moms and I'm talking to women, there's always this level of, not always, I should not blanket statement. Often I see this like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do that. Yes, you can. Why can you not? Why can you not take ownership of your situation? Why can you not be the agent of change? Why? Why do you need someone else to advocate for you? You can do it. You can do it. I will help you. I will help equip you to get out there and just get your hands dirty, right? One of the most beautiful things about this process for me is that my kids have seen their mom just step into it. A lot of times just the way that the family structure, is functioning, there are dual working families for sure, but especially, in my community, there are a pretty good portion of moms that stay home, and that's great and that's good. And I did that, for a lot of years. I was able to, work on our businesses on the side, but focus on the kids. And so now that they're older, they're seeing, oh my gosh, my mom is going and doing, and it's teaching my children, you can go and do.
Yeah.
You take ownership of your situation. You be the change.
Yeah.
If you don't like something, bless their hearts. My kids' teachers, I tell them all the time, beginning of the year, we had a situation on the playground where Graham wanted a football and there wasn't a football. And I was like, well, if it was me, I would ask your teacher for a meeting. Find out why you can't. The teachers are like, oh gosh, here come those Thompson kids again. But I want women to know, like, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And we have such a unique perspective in the way that we approach the world because we are wired with that nurturing side of things. And so being able to see, perspectives, that men just don't.
Yeah.
That's just, and vice versa. That works both ways, But you can do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. There is no reason you cannot do it.
Yeah.
So, not just with public service, with anything,
Yeah.
anything you want to do, we can do it. Bring your kids along. I've been out knocking doors with a screaming 3-year-old. Here I am. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
So,
80,000 people in District 22.
Yeah, about. Mm-hmm,
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of folks, but yeah, Senate districts have about 80,000 people. Give or take.
Everyone just slammed the door in your face.
No.
That's great.
It really has been a positive experience. I have met some amazing people. I actually met an older guy, a couple of weeks ago. He was a veteran, and he invited me in his house, which I don't know. I'm always kind of like, I don't know if I should go in here. This might be 2020 in the making. But anyway, it felt right,
sure.
and I wanted to learn more about him. And so he takes me in his house and he's just telling me his story. It was so crazy that there was no way it was real. Like, he was a CIA agent and he was in, Vietnam and all this stuff. And
wow.
It was just amazing. And so, I've got to tour some amazing places. There's a place, Fields of Hope, out in Piedmont.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been out there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
amazing.
It is amazing.
Absolutely amazing. So, for those of y'all listening that don't know, we gotta tell them what it is. It's a recovery home for women where they get to work through substance abuse or whatever they might be struggling with, but they get to keep their children with them.
Yeah.
And their success rate, my gosh, I think it's like 99%. As a mom, I can't imagine going through something like that and right. also being detached from my children. So it's a beautiful place. But yeah, it has been, if nothing else, it has been so good.
Yeah.
It really has been so good. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the journey.
Yeah. I love Piedmont. I think the people out there are amazing.
They are.
So nice.
They are.
Genuine.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
It's a great little community.
Yeah. If you were to look back in your own life 20 years ago, what advice would you give yourself?
Don't sweat the small stuff.
And
I know that's kind of cheesy, but don't sweat the small stuff.
Love it.
Keep the main thing the main thing.
That's great.
That's what we say.
That's
on our letterboard. Keep the main thing the main thing. Focus.
I say that in staff meetings.
Oh.
It's like, let's keep the main thing the main
right?
thing. Let's focus on that.
Get out of the weeds.
Oh, man.
Come back.
Shout out to my boss, Nick Penner, if you hear that. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. No, he does a great job with that, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good leader, too.
Good.
What are you most proud of?
Oh, my gosh. My family. Hands down. I'm really, really proud of the opportunities the Lord has given us and the legacy that we're building and that we're going to leave for our children. That you can do things well without sacrificing people, and bringing others along, bring the team along, bring the family along, bring the community along.
How do you want to be remembered?
That I loved people well and that I was brave. Those two things. Yeah, she did it. When I'm dead and gone, I want my grandkids to be like, man, she loved us. She loved Jesus, and she was a Spitfire.
Man, that's great.
And she loved cookies.
Yeah, that's right. Doesn't matter which cookie.
Equal cookie lover.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say equal opportunity, but equal cookie lover.
Yes.
Kristen Thompson, how do the constituents, our listeners, people just get in touch with you?
Yeah. So we've got a Facebook page, Kristen for Oklahoma 2022. That is also our website. You can email me, Kristen, Kristen, at KristenForOklahoma.com. Comes right to my phone. And so I love to engage with constituents. I think it's incredibly important. And just people in general, Give me some feedback. Let's work together and see what we can collaborate on.
Yeah. Well, I will give you feedback. Your website is great.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It gets to the point.
I wrote all of that stuff.
Did you?
Yes. I try to be very intentional with the messaging that we put out because I want people to know that it matters to me.
You wrote that?
I did.
I thought you hired like a political consultant. I was like, man, this is really good.
I mean, we work together. You know, she gives me my prompts, but that's another reason why, you know, I'm thankful for her is that I don't like to be boxed in. Right.
Sure.
And so I really, I mean, everything you see that is put out on digital, you know, the website, you know, eventually, you know, we'll start doing some mailers and things like that. It's me. It's me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you all the very best.
You.
We're rooting you on.
Thank you.
And we'll catch up soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
your
me.
time. All right.
Pleasure.